Hello, good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Welcome to another video. My name is Halana Black, and today I'm trying to pull out my notes. Pulling out my notes. Um, I wanted to be able to talk to you about something that I was working on. So my third article published for Essence magazine online. I'll put the link to it. It is called From Ghana to Rwanda. These Black American women are building businesses on the continent. And I'm really excited about this particular article because there's people, the fact that Black women are leaving the United States to travel elsewhere, to live elsewhere, bringing their families with them, either solo or bringing their families with them. Um, that process is being well documented. It's always in the process of being documented. However, what I wanted to know more about is, once we get to these countries, what are we doing? For most of us, we're not on a long permanent vacation, unless that's what you're doing, which is also fine. But many of us have moved overseas and have started some sort of a business, either in the country that we live in. Some people actually do that. And then there are others of us who have a business that we do online. Um, or maybe I know some people who go back and forth, or they do some sort of hybrid of a bunch of different stuff. And so I was really interested in that process. And so this is just one of the stories that I have shared and have been wanting to share for quite a while now, of three women that I really admire who are really, just doing wonderful things on the continent. One of them is the owner of a PR agency. Her name is Autumn Marie. A second is Maya Gilliam in Ghana. I should go back. Autumn Marie actually lives in Rwanda, if I didn't say that. Maya Gilliam, she owns Maati Spa in um, East Legon in the Accra area of Ghana. And then the third is a sister named Wandy Stewart. She is a real estate investor and she has land in Rwanda that she's sort of still figuring out what she's going to do with it. But then she also has an apartment, an income generating apartment in Cape Town city center in South Africa. And you can see all of that in the article. I'm going to leave a link to the article in the description box if you care to read it, share it with your friends who may be interested, and get a different perspective on, just Black women who are just doing their thing in life and in business, in this article. So just wanted to share that. And also I want to share the topic of this video. One of the ladies that I was interviewing for this article, she asked me a question towards the end of our interview. She said that she was thinking about starting a Substack. And what did I think about that? And I could sort of that question has been sort of starting to become more popular. People who are interested in writing or writers or thought leaders slash experts who are interested in sharing their ideas, they want to know if Substack is actually worth their time. Um, and this is my answer to that, for anybody, any woman who is interested in taking their thought leadership and sharing it on a platform like Substack. Um, So rather than ask, I actually don't think that asking whether or not Substack is the right place for you to be able to share your work. A better question to ask is Is Substack a quality place for your best ideas to be able to live? Is Substack the best space, the most quality space for your most quality ideas to live? Now, here's the thing. A lot of people use social media on a regular basis, myself included. And social media, places like Instagram, Threads, even LinkedIn or YouTube, where else? Facebook, uh, what is that, X or Twitter, if you use that. Um, those are all really great places to help spread your ideas. But it's not necessarily where you go to develop your idea in the first place. You might go there for ideas of, looking at what other people are talking about, what's important to them, but it's not the place for you to be able to sit down and develop your ideas, which is an important process um, in developing your own business and developing your ideas that actually turn into books, keynotes, um, anything else that you want to be able to work on. Um, and so a lot of these other social media spaces, they reward things like the quick reactions, the short commentary, um, having to constantly put out output. A lot of people feel pressured to have to produce some sort of content every day. But for your most serious ideas, you usually need something different. You don't really need a daily rhythm, several times a day, to be able to develop your ideas. Now, once you actually develop the idea, in Substack or in a place like a Substack, you can actually chop that up into content and have that go out into different spaces. And that way, it's not like you just publish once and then you just forget it and you go on about your day. You actually have to do work to be able to make sure that your content is being discovered over and over again. That's also your responsibility. When you hire a person who's doing your social media, or even if you're doing it yourself. Um, so let's talk about this concept of having an intellectual home. Every woman who is developing a serious idea needs to have an intellectual home. This is a place where her thinking can grow. This is a place where your ideas can evolve, they can deepen, and you can actually connect your ideas to some of the larger projects that you are working on or that you would like to be able to connect to in the world. And so this is especially important if you're thinking about things like, writing your book, doing the keynotes, publishing essays, and just general thought leadership in your field and in your industry. So your Substack, for me, Substack has really become one version of that intellectual home. So, you know, and it's not necessarily because it's trendy. People really love it because, at least for the moment, Substack is free to use. It only becomes a cost if it only becomes a cost, once you start selling subscriptions, which you can choose to do or not. And I think I'll do a different video to be able to talk about what that means. But it's Substack is useful not because it's trendy, but because it gives, at least for me, a place to explore ideas that are still forming in my mind. Um, and so my Substack becomes sort of like a thinking laboratory. It's a safe laboratory where I don't necessarily need, not necessarily looking for virality, but I'm looking for people who are also thinkers, and will take the time to read from start to finish and not just necessarily look at a post. They'll find, skim it and just sort of find what sort of sticks out and respond to it. I need you to read the whole thing. And that's what I usually find that happens. And so there are the comments that people leave. Um, while at least for me right now, it's I don't get a ton of comments, but when I do get comments from people, they do tend to be useful. They tend to be reflective. These are people who are truly interested in the work that I'm doing, and they want to be able to learn, and they purchase some of the things that I offer, which is what I want. That's really what I want. And so I really want to be clear about something. I'm not particularly interested in the mechanics of Substack. Like if I don't want to become the person who can tell you how to get, your next 500 subscribers on Substack. That's, the advice that I'm giving about Substack, I'm saying Substack because number one, that's what I use, but I also use Kit as a newsletter email service. Um, and there are many others services that people use. I think Beehive is one. Someone had mentioned one that I had just heard of called Ghost. I'm not really familiar with that platform, but you go online and sort of find these spaces. What I like about Substack is that at least as far as the utility of the site, is that it's not just an email newsletter, but it's also can be used as a website. So using SEO, it's findable online. Whereas for some of the other ones, I'm not really sure. Like with Kit, you can, there's a way to, but the SEO isn't really um as good as maybe as I would like it to be. Like you can choose, like if you send out an email, you can choose to publish it on your website that Kit offers you, but it's not as great as Substack, if that makes sense. So I'm not particularly interested in talking about the mechanics of how Substack works, or how to be able to get more subscribers, which is absolutely a valuable topic, and there are plenty of other people who can do a great job at that. But what interests me is where your serious ideas are developing before they become something larger. And Substack just happens to be one of the tools that allows people to be able to do that right now. Why this matters for thought leaders. Many women think they need a bigger audience, but what they actually need is a deeper room, if that makes sense. Um, they need a place where their thinking can grow. They need a place where they can write, reflect, and sort of explore their ideas in a more meaningful way. And when someone subscribes to your writing in a place like that, they are choosing to purposely, intentionally engage with your thinking, which is really valuable. I've spent a number of years on Facebook. Unfortunately, I don't have my Facebook right now because somehow it just my Facebook profile got deleted. And so I don't know if I'm ever gonna have access to Facebook again, or maybe it's a good thing that I don't have it. I don't know. Time will tell. Um, but on that platform, I've always heard some of my friends who have businesses where their business is more than just, buy my little ebook, buy my t-shirt, buy my pen, buy my mug, you know, whose message is a little bit bigger than that. It was hard to be able to get people's attention. They couldn't really connect with the people who were deeper thinkers. And so for a lot of them, they just went on ahead over to Substack. And it seems to be working for them. Um, and so when you do that, it sort of creates a different kind of relationship with the people who are subscribing to you, particularly with those who are choosing to pay for a subscription to your newsletter, should that be something that you want to explore, which it is for me. Um, one of the things that I want in the next year to 2 years is to be able to live off of the income that I create from Substack. And so one of the income streams that I have on my Substack is, of course, the subscriptions, but there are also all the other services that I can share with my readers on Substack that can actually bring me more money than the actual subscription. So there are multiple ways to be able to look at having Substack as a major or even the main portion of your business. So an intellectual home also allows your life experience to connect with your ideas. So you can write about things that you are observing in the world. It doesn't necessarily have to be only, what it is that you do. So for example, um, I'm an authority strategist and a freelance writer. So I don't necessarily, while I do share what that looks like, what my work as an authority strategist looks like in the my Substack newsletter, I also share the other parts of my life, that's also a really important part of what it is that I'm doing on Substack. I don't just want to be the one thing. You know what I mean? I want to be able to talk to women who desire to have big lives where they have, multiple parts of their lives. I want to be able to make money off of the totality of who I am. And, of course, I choose which parts of that totality that I get to share. But we are more than just our work, the stuff that we do for money. And I think as a woman who is creative, it's important to be able to share that. So the things that you do that you're observing in the world, I think is important. Sharing lessons from your work, of course, is important. Your traveling, your cultural experiences, as just some of the general life experiences or just the general questions that you have about life that you are exploring. All of those things go together. All of those things work. All of those things connects to be able to make you a more interesting person. And it speaks to the core values of who it is that you are and what you do. And you become more than just your title. When I call myself an authority strategist, like really, what the hell is that? But people know that I write quality articles for quality publications. They know that I travel the world. They know that I got my health together while I was overseas. They know that I'm a solo Black woman traveler. If you've been, following me lately, you know that I'm interested in developing my own creative studio in San Miguel de Allende here in Mexico. You know that I've lived in 10 countries since 2018. Um, and so at some point, the different women that I've worked with over the last few years in my business, they've connected with me on these other areas that I have going on. It's not just the fact that I'm an authority strategist. That's actually probably the last thing that people actually care about. It's all the other stuff that they connect with me on. And then at some point when there's a connection, naturally, when there's a fit, they'll and provided I'm always, marketing my services. So I remind them of the fact that this is a service that I offer. They're not like, oh, hell yeah, I've always wanted to work with her. And because people just want to be able to know more of who you are. They want to be able to connect with you. They want to be able to say with people, oh, this is the person that I'm working with, and they feel good about it. So if you're a woman who is designing the next decade of your life as a thinker, a writer, or a leader, you know that you need a place where your ideas can grow over time. Some people use journals, some people write essays, some people choose to publish books, some people do keynote speeches. Um, and increasingly, some women are creating that intellectual home through platforms like Substack. So I want to remind you. So instead of asking, should I start a Substack, simply off the strength of everybody else doing it, a more powerful question might be, where do you have right now where your ideas can develop in a public space? What platforms are you using where your biggest ideas can develop, where people who are true thinkers, quality thinkers, your true potential um, clients, where they can meet you online and really sort of interact with your story. And then, maybe Substack might be that place for you. And that's just one of the conversations that I have with people in my design the decade session. Now, I do a strategic clarity call. So if you're a woman thinking about the next chapter of your life and you're writing a book, you're speaking publicly, or you're developing thought leadership, the 20-minute strategic clarity call is the best place for us to be able to talk. And this is only for serious women. Please don't make sessions if you're not ready to seriously think about what it is that you want to be able to work on next. Um, I want women who are really just thinking about their next stage in life. You're about 40, 50, 60 years of age. And you still have, this thing that you want to be able to talk about, that you want to be able to write about, that you want to be able to share with the world. And you want to be able to use that to sort of catapult the next 10 years of your life. So that's what I help you with. Um, and I want women who want to be able to do this with intention. Um, and so the 20-minute session is free. However, the Design the Decade sessions, which I do over a month, 4 sessions over a month, that part is not free. Let me be clear. That part is not free. But yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to be able to talk to women who are ready to be able to focus on this next stage of life, and they're ready to be able to create something. So if you want to be able to do that, I will also have a link to that in the description box. All right, so closing statement here. Many people focus on visibility, but visibility without your developed ideas rarely lasts very long. The real work is giving your thinking a place to grow. And that's what having an intellectual home allows you to do. And Substack may be the place for you to be able to do that. Okay? So cool. That's all I wanted to be able to share today. I hope you're having a great day. And I will see you tomorrow.